Today we're diving into The Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 4, A Different Approach. I am so glad to see things pick up with Omega and Crosshair. I thought we might go back over to Hunter and Wrecker, who I love, but the story I really wanted to see was what happened to the Mount Tantiss escapees. And also Batcher. Not only do we get some resolution for all that, but we also spend some valuable time with Crosshair and his continued attitude adjustment. This episode reminded me of Season 3 of Avatar The Last Airbender if you've seen that. Spoilers for Season 3 just in case. But just about every character gets an episode with Zuko, the bad guy turned good guy. Crosshair at this point is definitely against the Empire, but he's not necessarily for helping the other clones, telling Omega he has no plans to return to Tantiss. So for now they have to find ways to cooperate, compromise, and work together to find a way off this new planet they've crash-landed on called Lao. And it is a delight. It's mostly Crosshair rolling his eyes at Omega's insistence that Batcher come along, or her choice of disguises, or her attempts at bribing the spaceport administrator while he just wants to start blasting. The administrator demands 30,000 credits, so that becomes their new goal. Omega hustling the patrons of the bar was a really nice callback to her learning holochess with Sid back in Season 1. I love that she's using skills she was taught by not just the Batch, but everyone she's met since her time off Kamino. I do think it would have made more sense if she were playing holochess against everyone else instead of some brand new game we've never seen her play, but whatever. I'll assume Sid taught her several games, or maybe her Bad Batch style enhancement is simply being able to learn new skills quickly. At any rate, she takes 45,000 credits from a Trandoshan and an Imperial officer who, at first, happily hands over his credits because Omega beat him fair and square, but he quickly walks that back, claiming gambling is illegal and demanding a 10,000 credit fine. The Bad Batch Season 2 felt very strongly connected to the themes of Andor, and this is another moment that stuck out to me. Omega has been trying to play her escape within a good set of moral boundaries. She doesn't want to be the cause of violence, but she will bribe. She doesn't want to outright steal credits, but she wants to win them fair and square. The Imperial loses, but like Nimic says, the Empire has no moral boundaries. Cassian agrees that they don't play by the rules. This is the lesson Omega learns in this episode. The Imperial officer thinks he is above the law. And the jerk takes Batcher. A kid who witnessed everything takes another 5,000 credits from Omega and Crosshair to tell them what happened. All this has me wondering, once again, how much one credit is actually worth in Star Wars. Generally, we assume one credit is about $1 for convenience, but the idea that Omega earned 45,000 from two people in an hour or two is kind of absurd. Maybe it's more like yen, where 1,000 converts to like $7, or maybe Lao has its own exchange rate, or maybe Omega really is that good and that Trandoshan was just loaded and now she's ruined him financially. Anyway, Crosshair wants to leave Batcher behind and Omega once again refuses. Batcher continues to be a metaphor for the clones, like she was in the first 3 episodes. Crosshair doesn't care about going back to Tantiss to save them, but Omega wears him down and makes him do the right thing, even though he feels his skills are being wasted. Which is a moment played for laughs, but I think it's important. It's showing some growth for Crosshair, who in the previous season struggled to see life without a blaster in his hands. What other uses did he have? But now, outside of the Empire, and with a developing trimmer in his hands, he's got to find some compromise in his life, and he's showing a willingness to do that. So the two sneak into a cargo loading area full of creatures, and the second they showed a button that could lock all the crates, you just know Omega's gonna slap a button to unlock them all. The Imperial captain tries to extort more money from them and announces that Hemlock is on the way, and Omega finally sighs and compromises with Crosshair, letting him do what he does best. And she unlocks all the cages. Crosshair and the animals cause some chaos, the Imperial captain is eaten by a Rathtar or something, and our heroes escape. Hemlock shows up at their crashed shuttle, reminding the audience that he's hot on their trail. This season has done a great job so far with these kind of in-between episodes. The first and third felt really big and important. The second and fourth were a little more character-focused, but still took strides to move the main plot along. Both Omega and Crosshair had to learn to work with one another to find a different approach, but we're also following up with Hemlock just to keep the villains fresh in our minds. I like that. And of course, this episode does have a big moment at the end. Omega and Crosshair return to their brothers on Ryloth's moon. Personally, I wouldn't have minded maybe one more episode about Hunter and Wrecker's time without Omega. I think it could have made this moment even more emotional. We know it's been months, but the reunion felt quick in the overall season. I expect that's because this series has a lot to wrap up and only so many episodes to do it in. I also think it would have felt longer if we didn't have a 3-episode premiere and we had to wait a week week between episodes 2 and 3. But I'm nitpicking because it was still great to see our team get back together, and I would much prefer the pacing feel a little fast rather than slow and drawn out. Not to mention, the early parts of this story were focused on Omega. She has learned from the best. She rescued herself thanks to all the lessons she's learned from her brothers over the past 2 seasons, and Crosshair's somewhat reluctant help. But they're all back together, and of course the episode ends with them all just staring at one another. Part of me wanted an Uncle Iroh and Zuko style reunion where they just hug and everything is okay, but Crosshair hasn't earned that from Hunter or Wrecker yet. I think he's trustworthy, but they're probably going to need a couple episodes to adjust and work things out. But that's it for this week. Let me know what you thought of a different approach in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page for our video reactions and audio commentaries for every episode as they release. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.